another Sims 4 speed build for you today. This one is the Cottage from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. The inspiration for this build actually came from the Sims 4 Romantic Garden stuff pack. As I was looking through the stuff pack and seeing the different flowers and all the content they added, I realized that I could do an Alice in Wonderland garden. So then, as I was starting the garden, I thought, wait a second, look at all this cottage stuff from the Sims 4 Get Together expansion pack. I can totally build the house or the cottage from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So that is what I did, and this is what you're watching. So this whole thing has kind of put me on a Disney kick, because the house I'm building now, that I'm probably 30 to 40% done with, is actually Sleeping Beauty's castle from Disneyland. And I'm really excited for that one, so be on the lookout for it. It'll probably be my next video, because that's what I'm concentrating on now. Anyway, back to this build. So I used a picture of the outside of the cottage that I found, doing a Google image search. However, for the inside, I just went on my memory. And it's been probably 3 or 4 years since I've last seen the movie, but I do remember a large dancing area, a piano, and a dining room table. So I had to take some liberties. Oh, also the bedroom. So I had to take some liberties because they never show you the bathrooms. And I say bathrooms plurally because with 7 men living under one roof, there better be more than one bathroom. So how I did that was I have 2 bathroom areas, but there are 5 toilets and 4 showers in this house, all with 100% complete privacy. So you don't have to worry about Sims dying from embarrassment if you download this house from the Sims gallery. You can find this house in the gallery by searching for Cheri of all trades. So that's hashtag Cheri, Cheri of all trades. Anyway, if you decide to use this house, please let me know about it. And if you decide to create your own 7 dwarfs or Snow White and her prince who, use this as a romantic getaway, also let me know about that. I did not create the 7 dwarfs / Sims just because they would have had to be kids and I would have been annoyed that not all of the traits would have been accurate. For example, like Happy, Doc, and Grumpy are pretty easy. You're going to be mean for Grumpy, genius for Doc, and cheerful for Happy. However, what do you do with Sneezy and Sleepy? For Sleepy, you could do lazy, but that's not accurate, and that would actually really annoy me. Also, there's absolutely nothing for Sneezy. I definitely feel like when the Sims 4 Get to Work expansion pack came out, they could have added like a very sick trait, a hypochondriac trait, just something so like, okay, your Sims get sick more than average, and then on the other hand, like your Sims are super healthy, they hardly get sick. So I think that hopefully, I don't know, that would have been some good traits to add, and it would have been the appropriate time to add them because of the doctor get to work job or profession or whatever they're calling it. So one of the things that bothered me here was that the gray of the plaster does not match the light gray of the Get Together woodwork plaster. It doesn't bother me so much that I felt it was a huge hindrance, but I think the house would have looked nicer outside if the colors could have matched. So that window to the immediately right of the door, you'll notice as I'm putting other items outside that nothing goes in front of that window. And that's on purpose because that is the iconic window that the evil queen gives Snow White the poisoned apple to through that window. So going back to the differences or the traits of The Sims 4 and the kids, if you were building dwarfs, I guess one of the features I wish The Sims 4 had was that you were able to adjust the height of your Sims. And another big pet peeve of mine that they should have not put in the game was that teenagers are the exact same height as adults or young adults, adults, and elders. I feel like that's super annoying because I'll have a young adult Sim who's on the lookout for love, and I see a Sim walking by. I'm like, hey, that's probably my soulmate. And then I click on them, and there's no romantic interactions because they're a teenager. But I had no way of knowing that because the only difference between a young adult and a Sim is that they're a little bit thinner and, their facial features, their bone structure is smaller. But I don't, examine their face as they're walking by. So that's kind of a downer. So that's one thing I wish they had. So the garden out front in the yard is very, very barren. And if you look at a picture of the cottage from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, you'll notice that the front yard is pretty barren. And I also built this in Windenburg in the mid-nowhere lot. That's because there's no other lots around it. It's completely secluded. That's on purpose because this house, of course, is supposed to be in the middle of a forest. And Snow White accidentally stumbles upon it, and then she was able to hide from the evil queen for a time. Also, there's no pond in the original cottage. There's actually a stream that runs in front of the cottage with a bridge, but that is not possible in The Sims 4. I could have had, a pond on either side of the pathway and kind of emulated a bridge, but that wouldn't have worked. I thought in live mode that just would have been kind of silly because your Sim can just walk around the pond. I don't know, maybe I could have done it, but I didn't. So that's something you can think about if you do download this house and want to, add your own changes. So I do use the old-fashioned refrigerator and stove. I feel like this house is a mix between old and new. There's a lot of old features, but there's some definite new features. So those chairs I put in the dining room are actually the children chairs, and that's on purpose because, of course, I don't want the big chairs because this house is designed for dwarfs. So going back to the old and new things, like the counters are obviously pretty updated. They're not the cheapo cottage cabinets. I wanted the nicest cabinets just because I was using the old appliances, so I wanted the contrast there. I also put a dishwasher in, which is very modern, and I decided not to push my luck and add a microwave. That was too much. I do like the way the walls end up. I I don't know. I think this wallpaper or what is this? Oh, I guess this is paneling. I think that's so accurate and so in tune with the movie. That's one of my favorite parts of this house actually is the interior walls. So as I was putting in the beds, I did not go for the children's beds because those look ridiculous, but I did use single beds and I managed to get 7 in this room. And actually I have to make the room a little bit bigger and then I end up putting 8 beds in and then later I'm like, wait a second, there's only 7 dwarfs. So you'll see that progressing out. And I just want to talk about it now in case I don't talk about it later. So I put the beds together like that in groups of 3 because I'm pretty sure in the movie that when Snow White goes into the house, she falls asleep across 3 beds horizontally, and that's how she fits in the beds. However, that's not realistic if you were actually going to play with this house because nobody would be able to access that middle bed. So I do end up changing that, and you'll see that a little bit later. So I want to take this time to talk about how sometimes when I'm on Facebook, I see Origin sponsored content and then I click on the comments just to read them. I never comment myself. And I see people complaining about The Sims 4, about how It's a huge step backwards from The Sims 3. It's so boring. They don't like it. They need more content. And I want to tell those people, don't give up on the game yet, because when The Sims 4 first came out, even though I was super excited about it, I was kind of let down a little bit. I felt like my favorite Sims game is The Sims 2, and that's only because The Sims 2 was 100% improvement from The Sims 1. And I felt like The Sims 3 and The Sims 4, although they improved, they weren't as radical. They weren't as inspirational. They didn't have as much content change as I would have liked to see. And they got rid of some features I liked. So real quick, this interlude here, just to talk about these crystals I put in the house. Obviously, the dwarfs are minors, so I thought this was the perfect decor because, they might bring some gemstones home with them. And I really like the ones in the box. I think that those are super cute. So anyway, back to the difference between The Sims 2, The Sims 3, and The Sims 4. So I really, really liked in The Sims 2 that they introduced genetics. How if you had a Sim with blonde hair, marry a Sim with black hair, and they had kids, all their kids would have black hair. But then if one of those kids married someone with red hair, your kids might have black hair, blonde hair, or red hair. And they actually gave the eye color and the hair color and the skin color, they gave them like a dominant or recessive, nomenclatures, or I don't know what the terminology is, but basically when the Sims had kids, they would factor that in and the dominant traits would more often than not show through. So, but they took that out in The Sims 3 and they didn't add it back in The Sims 4, so I wish they would have. Because now you can have a Sim with blonde hair marry a Sim with black hair, and their kids might have blonde hair or black hair, and it's not very accurate in terms of, how many could be added to each. So, again, back to the house. This is the bathroom, one of the bathrooms, and as you can see, I created a 2x1 room to get in a bathroom fixture and a door and a tile for the door to swing open so your Sims can access it. All right, we're going to transition back to The Sims 3 and Sims 4. So then in The Sims 3, of course, there's not the genetics, but then, and also the design tool took forever. But then in The Sims 4, I felt like they took away some of that design aspect. But then again, you still have some design, and then at least you're able to get to the game. I felt like in The Sims 3, you took forever and a half building houses because there was so much customization. I also really like in The Sims 4 the room tools. I think that's pretty cool. It's a lot easier to remodel or revise houses. So I do kind of like that because you can sort of move a room out of the way, expand walls back and forth without having to, demolish, a room. So that's pretty cool. Also, of course, The Sims 3 is going to have more content. There's been a gazillion expansion packs. Same thing with The Sims 2. Give it a few years, and The Sims 4 will have as much content as The Sims 3. Also, I kind of like the way the store works, or the fact that there is no store. In The Sims 3, there was it seems like The Sims creators were pushing out so much content that, or so much, buyable content that it was annoying. And of course, you don't just want the one item for, a dollar or 20 sim points or whatever. You want the whole set. And I feel like this game packs and stuff packs are kind of the same thing. It's introducing new material to the game and new gameplay objects, new build mode objects, new buy mode objects, etc. And this way you're able, you automatically have to buy the entire set. Why would you just want the wishing well and nothing else from Romantic Garden stuff? Especially because it's all so cute. So yeah, I totally don't mind paying $10 for a complete set of something. Although I must say it's really annoying to have to pay sales tax on something you're not getting. It's a digital thing. I don't have a physical copy of the game. Why am I paying sales tax if I don't have something physical? I don't know. Okay, sorry. I'm just complaining to the man. So I didn't go super crazy adding wall decorations to this house. That's because I didn't want to take away from what the house should be. If there had been more whimsical, fun stuff, I probably would have added it. But I didn't want to, add a bunch of non relevant pictures to the wall. Although I do add the crystal posters, just to throw it back to these reminders that live here. Of course, they're going to be proud of their job and whistling while they work. So also, the lighting isn't overwhelming here. I did use the old fashioned looking lights, so it's not super bright. And there's only 6 windows in the house because the pictures of the house I found online, the house just doesn't have a lot of windows. All right, so the last thing I add is a wishing well, and even though there's no wishing well in the game or in the Sims 4, oh my gosh, there's no wishing well in the Cottage of the Dwarfs. There is a wishing well in the movie, and it's pretty iconic, so that's why I added it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and have a great day.